Watching butter melt, it's about the same.
Right. Just waiting on Janine to tell me we're recording again.
I don't know how many gallons in the tank.
Recording in progress.
Right, we're back in open session, and we are now to our business items, the first of which is item 8A, approval of an amendment number 1 to contract number 075-22 with Sacanti Inc. for the McCormick Village Splash Pad Treatment Facility Installation Project. Mr. Lang, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. The city owns and operates a splash pad at the McCormick Village Park for its residents and desires to modify the existing flow-through system to a recirculating system. This will be accomplished through the McCormick Village Park Splash Pad Treatment Facility installation and retrofitting project. On July 26, 2022, following a procurement process consistent with the city's procurement policies adopted by Resolution 036-22, the city executed contract number C075-22 with Sacanti Inc. for the project. Additional modifications are needed beyond the original contracted scope of the work for C075-22. These modifications are required based on the Department of Health's regulations, review, and approval of the designs for the project. Due to additional and unforeseen DOH requirements for the use of a recirculated water at the splash pad, an increase to the Washington State sales tax rate effective January 1st, 2023 also affects the total contract price and is reflected in this amendment. These items will increase the existing contract by $139,136.33 for a new total contract price of $729,522.85. Due to the Department of Health's regulations and time for review, the duration of the contract has been extended to December 31st, 2023. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute change order number 1 to contract C075-22 with Sacanti Inc. for the McCormick Village Park Splash Pad Treatment Facility Installation Project.
Member Clausen?
Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to execute change order number 1 to contract number C075-22 with Sacanti Inc. for the McCormick Village Park Splash Pad Treatment Facility Installation Project. That is a mouthful.
Second. Councilmember now you got me. Motion by Councilmember Clausen and a second by Councilmember Diener. Discussion of this? Councilmember Clausen, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think, this is a interesting project, and I think I would start out by suggesting that this splash pad, when we first installed it, was extremely popular with the community to go out and take advantage of it, certainly during the warm summer weather that we experienced. But as it's pointed out here in the discussion, the system that we initially installed just used our potable water to support the splash pad, and that certainly isn't the best way to use our valuable water. And putting in this improvement, having a recirculation system, I think makes a lot of sense in the aspect of we're all working to try to conserve water. And by doing this, we're not using water straight out of a well just to splash on the splash pad. So I think this is it's a great improvement to our park system, and I think it's one that the community likes, and I'm really glad that we're moving forward with it, I hope.
Comments? Councilmember Rosepepe?
I agree with everything you said, John, that it's a good project, and I wish we would have gone with recirculating earlier. It's just when I look at the total cost of almost $600,000 that could possibly be recouped and spent in other areas, so that could be more equitable to the whole city. I have a hard time with it. And I know that once it's shuttered, it probably never come back again, at least on this go-around. But I just keep thinking with dollars being, I know they're impact fees, it can't be spent anywhere else but on parks, but I wonder if it's not equitable to the whole city and not just part of the city. That's my 2 cents.
Okay?
I agree with what was stated, but I'm going to have to say it in my own way as well. I certainly agree that recirculation is the way to go, and it looks better that we are not just using a lot of water. But for me, what's creating the greatest heartburn is that the fix is many multiples of the original cost. I find this appalling, and I find this actually very unsatisfying, so I'm not going to be able to support this.
Diener?
So I will agree with much of what has been spoken about the project so far tonight. It's unfortunate that it started out the way it did. I think there were some lessons learned. I think it is the nature of these projects that they're going to be more expensive than we anticipate them to be. I think we're seeing sticker shock on just about every construction project we can imagine. I also know that it's a very, very popular recreational facility. I've had people tell me that if it gets shut down, they're going to bring hordes of parents to our meetings and talk to us about it. That being said, I feel like it's a long-term investment for the community, and I think it's one that will be enjoyed for a long time once it's up and running properly. So I intend to support it. I am, also shocked by how much it's going to cost, but I think that's just the world we live in.
Councilmember Trenary?
Well, I'd like to agree with Councilmember Diener. I am shocked by the cost of doing this modification, but we do have the impact fees in place to pay for this cost, and it is a very valuable project and a valuable piece of our Parks Department, so I intend on voting for this amendment.
Would you like a chance to speak before John? Go ahead, Cindy.
This is one of those hard decisions. The cost is a huge factor, considering how much water has been used, and we have a good idea now, of course, that we couldn't continue to operate the splash pad in the manner that we were before. I think we've invested a lot in making this splash pad known to people in our community and outside, and it has been a huge draw. It is something that when we talked about tourism and bringing people to our area and having a city that's attractive for new people to locate to, I think that this is an amenity that actually goes a long way toward making our city a great destination for younger families with children. And so even though I am having a very difficult time with the cost, I do see it as an investment in our future, and so I'm going to support it.
Council, and just piling onto your statement there about making this a place people want to come to, and I think it points to one of our guiding principles of, are we raising the bar and making, our community a better place? And I think amenities like this, I think, do that. Councilmember Clausen?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple other things, and I would certainly agree that the price of doing this is quite high, but I would also like to, at least the way I think about it, we have two areas of our city that is growing very, very rapidly, and this is in one of them that is growing very rapidly. And with the recent project that we approved just down the street, where there's going to be a lot of high density, if you will, developments. I don't know if they're zero lot lines, but they're very close to. So there's going to be an awful lot of growth, and those homes that we approved, I'm envisioning, will be used by families. So I think this park investment in that area certainly makes sense in my mind. The second thing, and I appreciate what you're saying, Jay, about equity in the city, I'm afraid that wherever we make any kind of an improvement, we're going to have that question. So I think this, to me, we check the block for that area, and we need to start looking at other parts of our cities to make types of park improvements so that we try to balance for all of the citizens of Port Orchard. But I'm not necessarily as concerned because, again, this is one of the fastest growing parts of our community right now, and there's going to be a lot of families that's going to be living in very close proximity to that facility.
I think you bring up a good point, John. Not that it changes things for me, but I do want to acknowledge that the council and the mayor and the directors have funded the Rockwell Pocket Park, as well as as we continue to do the pathway, which has been huge improvements. So you're right, there's equity in both ways. I just find this a hard sell with the dollar value, that's all.
Any last comments before we vote?
I guess I'm just sort of wondering if we have enough funds for the construction of the pathway, and this money could have gone there, but we'll find another way, I'm sure. But I agree with what most of what is said, even though it does not change my vote. I know this is certainly very popular, but it is also very expensive.
That, all in favor, please say aye and raise your hand so that.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
No.
No.
So that passes 4-2. We are on to item B, which is the adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Consor North America for the construction support and management services for the McCormick Village Splash Pad Construction Project. Tony, did you come up with this title for this?
Tongue twisters.
Okay, so this is yours.
All right, thank you. The City Public Works Department has identified a need for construction support services to support the construction of a splash pad at McCormick Village Park. On December 13th, 2022, pursuant to the city's procurement policies adopted as resolution number 036-2 as amended, the city's Public Works Department established a list of qualified contractors from the 2022 MRSC consultant roster for the main category, construction management, and subcategory, project management oversight. On December 16, 2022, the city's Public Works Department selected 3 qualified consultants from the roster. On January 3, 2023, after staff reviewed, scored, and ranked the qualifications of the 3 consultants selected from the roster, the city's Public Works Department identified the highest ranking firm as Consor North America, Inc. On January 4th, 2023, the city received a defined scope of work, budget, and project timeline for the project from Consor in an amount not to exceed $57,475. Staff recommends adoption of resolution number 001-23, approving contract number C005-23 with Consor North America, Inc. for construction support and management services for the McCormick Village Park Splash Pad Construction Project in an amount not to exceed $57,475 and documenting the professional services procurement procedures.
Awesome.
Take a run at this one. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 001-23, thereby approving contract number C005-23 with Consor North America, Inc. for construction support and management services for the McCormick Village Park Splash Pad Construction Project in an amount not to exceed $57,475.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Clausen, a second by Councilmember Lucarelli. Any discussion on this item? A kind of companion to the prior one. So Councilmember Rosa Pepe?
No, I just wanted to go on record that, as I've said before, that once the council makes a decision, that I will fully back it. And since the previous decision is in support of the splash pad, I'll be supporting this initiative also.
Comments? Hearing none.
I do have
Go ahead.
one, Mr. Mayor. I am concerned a little bit about the date end on this contract being July 31st, 2023. Is that hard written in the sand, or, and can we meet that?
If we can't meet that, we can do a time extension.
Thank you.
Shouldn't cost any more money because we haven't expended the money.
Right.
Other comments or questions? Okay, you'll be voting on adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Consor North America for the construction support and management services for the McCormick Village Splash Pad project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes. Or no.
Item 8C now, adoption of a resolution amending policies and procedures for the city's annual spring cleanup project. Mr. Lang, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. On September 14th, 2021, the Port Orchard City Council adopted Resolution 057-21 for the City of Port Orchard Policy and Procedures for Spring Cleanup Program. The city began this event in the early 1990s, picking up extra solid waste from city residents with existing non-commercial solid waste accounts. The event is held in conjunction with the city's solid waste residential pickup service provided by Waste Management. The program is valued by the city's residents as it serves the city of Port Orchard's public health, safety, and welfare, and helps facilitate the city's residents in the disposal of excess solid waste. The city's policies and procedures brochure includes a list of specialty items eligible for the program and how much a resident would pay to have these items picked up and disposed of during the cleanup event. The cost for disposal of these items at the Olympic View transfer station increased on January 1st, 2023. The attached policy and procedures brochure has been updated with the current rates to keep the fees charged by the city in alignment with the Olympic View transfer station rates. City staff seeks approval to modify these rates and the cleanup brochure on an annual basis, keeping specialty item fees in alignment with the Olympic View transfer station fees. By this resolution, the City Council would approve the revised policy and procedures brochure, adopt the new rates, and allow city staff to modify these rates and city cleanup brochure on an annual basis. Staff recommends adoption of Resolution 016-23, thereby adopting the revised City of Port Orchard policy and procedures, updated spring cleanup program brochure, and allowing city staff to modify the specialty item fees on an annual basis so rates are in alignment with Olympic View transfer station.
Councilmember Chang.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 16-23, thereby adopting the revised City of Port Orchard policy and procedures for the city's annual spring cleanup program.
Second?
By Councilmember Chang, a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Questions for Mr. Lang on this? Just our annual spring cleanup project, program, which is very popular in the city. All right, with no questions, you'll be voting on the policies and procedures for the annual spring cleanup. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And this passes unanimously. We're to item D, adoption of a resolution establishing an employee inclusion commission to focus on the city's efforts related to diversity, equity, and inclusion among city employees. Ms. Lund, this is you.
Thank you. Good evening. On January 10th, Human Resources Specialist Beth Spalding presented to the City Council a culmination of nearly a year's worth of work related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, commonly known as DEI. After that presentation, Council expressed a desire to continue to the city's work toward DEI and incorporate the recommendation to form an employee inclusion commission to focus on DEI efforts at the employee level. The proposed inclusion commission would operate on much the same basis as the city's current wellness committee. The inclusion commission would research, study, and recommend to the mayor goals, programs, and strategies to improve the DEI efforts of the city. and the commission would report their progress back to the council at least annually. Staff recommendation feels this is in line with your guiding principle of positively impacting diversity, equity, and inclusion, and recommends the council adopt the attached resolution approving the Employee Inclusion Commission.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution establishing an Employee Inclusion Commission focused on the city's efforts related to the diversity, equity, and inclusion among city employees.
Second
By Councilmember Rosa Pepe, a second by Councilmember Clausen. Do you have any questions? Go ahead.
Again, I think everybody was duly impressed with Beth's presentation, and I hope at some point in time she gets to take it on the road, as good as it was. And I'm hoping that also that, we talk about this, the city, and that we can become a more diverse and welcoming city as we try to move forward into the future. So again, well done to Beth and to your department and the mayor for this, what we're doing with the city.
Councilmember Clausen can speak to her road shows.
As a matter of fact, I can, and as you indicated, Jay, I was like everyone else at this dais, very impressed, and actually I asked Elizabeth if she could come over and share her presentation to all of my directors at Kitsap Transit, as well as some of the supervisory staff. And she graciously came over, did an outstanding job. I think the mayor reported to us when she presented to us that it was his second or third time seeing her presentation, and every time learned something else. Same for me. When I listened to her at the transit, I picked up even more of what she said. So she does a very, very good job, and I'm really glad that we're taking this to the next step and being able to continue this effort in the city of Port Orchard.
Councilmember Diener.
So the resolution calls for an annual report to the city. I don't mind a formal annual report, but I would sure like to hear more regularly about what's going on, and because I too, like everybody else, was impressed and am anxious to see this move.
Frequent visitor to the council meetings. I'm sure she can incorporate that occasionally when there's things to report.
Yeah.
Mayor, since you're still president of AWC, correct?
We've made a request that it be we've submitted her video to AWC and
Awesome.
made her, if they chose to make her one of the sessions at
Right.
the, so we haven't heard back yet whether
Awesome.
or not they would like that or not. So
Okay.
but, we definitely would support that and support her in that, and have sent the video from the presentation she did here.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Yes. And she got to go over visit Transit with a caveat that John can't steal her.
But I did buy her lunch.
Is that in writing?
But and that was appropriate, so, all right. With that, you'll be voting on a resolution establishing an Employee Inclusion Commission to focus on the city's efforts related to diversity, equity, and inclusion among city employees. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, this passes unanimously. We're to item E, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with KPFF Consulting Engineers for the Bay Street Pedestrian West Situational Study. Mr. Lang, it's your show tonight.
Thank you. On May 10th, 2022, the Port Orchard City Council approved contract C044-22, accepting a grant from Washington State Department of Transportation. The funding is part of the Transportation Improvement Program for the 2019 to 2022 federal funding cycle and was awarded to the city for the Bay Street Bay Street Pathway West situational study. The city identified a need for professional architecture and engineering services with expertise in civil engineering, structural engineering, coastal engineering, geotechnical engineering, landscape architecture, and environmental permitting. On August 26, 2022 and September 2nd, 2022, the City of Port Orchard Public Works Department published a request for qualifications for architectural and engineering services for the Bay Street Pathway West situational study, and by the September 16, 2022 deadline, The Public Works Department received one statement of qualifications from a qualified firm. After reviewing the SOQ received and based upon overall qualifications of the submitting firm, the Public Works Department determined KPFF Consulting Engineers met the requirements and criteria as described in the RFQ and was a responsible and responsive consultant to provide the architectural and engineering services for the project. Public Works staff met with KPFF Consulting Engineers to discuss, clarify, and develop the project understanding and the associated contract terms. On January 11th, 2023, the city received a defined scope of work, budget, and fees from KPFF Consulting Engineers in an amount not to exceed $560,103.86. Staff recommends adoption of resolution number 003-23, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute contract number C010-23 with KPFF Consulting Engineers for the Bay Street Pathway West situational study in an amount of $560,103.86.
Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 3-23, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute contract number C010-23 with KPFF Consulting Engineers for the Bay Street Pathway West situational study in an amount of $560,103.86 and documenting the professional services procurement procedures.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Terneri. Questions? Councilmember Diener?
Tony, just kind of, in your vision, what does the pathway look like on Port Orchard Boulevard? Is it both sides? I mean, I know I'm asking you to speculate ahead of the.
I'm speaking hypothetically, but yeah, so the areas from the foot ferry, the multimodal pathway or the pedestrian pathway from there to the bottom of Port Orchard Boulevard, and then a complete streets up the pathway to Tremont.
Okay.
Likely a road diet, and
Yeah, and they'll give alternatives. That's
Yeah.
what the feasibility study is, to give us different options.
You got two different speeds of bicyclists, for example, one going
Right.
uphill, one going down, and,
I think there's enough room.
yeah.
Got a lot of blacktop there, and it's underutilized.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chang?
I just need to remind people that I'm aware that I'm an employee of WashDOT who partly granted part of the funding, and it was to the city and not to me personally. However, if anyone feels that there is a conflict, I would be happy to recuse myself from the vote.
Not off the island yet.
Nope,
Yeah,
not yet.
Not
I'm
yet.
gonna have to do something illegal.
Doesn't sound like there's a conflict. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay, you'll be voting on a resolution approving a contract with KPFF Consulting Engineers for the Bay Street Pedestrian Path West situational study. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. We're to item F, adoption of a resolution accepting Transportation Improvement Program project number 1.5C, documenting certified construction cost and maximum transportation impact fee credits granted pursuant to contract number 035-21. Mr. Lang.
Thank you. I'm getting my reading in today. On February 1st, 2021, the city and McCormick Communities LLC entered into a development agreement for transportation identified as contract C035-21, which required the construction of various transportation improvements and provided a framework to grant traffic impact fee credits to McCormick Communities. McCormick Communities has substantially completed the construction of the McCormick Village Drive Roundabout project, identified as TIP project number 1.5C, Old Clifton Road, Campus Parkway intersection. In the development agreement, note that Campus Parkway has since been renamed as McCormick Village Drive, other than minor repairs covered by a bond. Contract C035-21, Section 12 stipulates that McCormick Communities LLC would receive credit equal to the lesser of the actual costs incurred by the developer or the engineer's estimate contained in the city's traffic impact fee calculation plus an annual inflator per the CPI-U. The city's traffic impact fee calculation was adopted by ordinance 007-21 on February 9th, 2021. The engineer's estimate for project number 1.5C, as found in the rate study attached to ordinance 007-21, was $1,600,000. Since ordinance 007-21 was adopted, the traffic impact fee was adjusted once on March 1st, 2021 by the CPIU with an increase of 1.7%, and again on March 1st, 2022 by 4.6%. Pursuant to contract C035-21, the engineer's estimate for TIP project number 1.5C increased on March 1st, 2021 by 1.7% and March 1st, 2022 by 4.6%, thus increasing the engineer's estimate for the project from $1,600,000 to $1,702,051.20. On December 2nd, 2022, the city received certified construction cost documentation from McCormick Communities LLC for TIP project number 1.5C, showing total expenditures of $2,595,177. The engineer's cost estimate adjusted per the CPIU is less than the certified construction cost for TIP project 1.5C. The city wishes to document the maximum approved traffic impact fee amount granted to McCormick Communities LLC for the construction of TIP project 1.5C. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt Resolution 002-23 accepting the Transportation Improvement Program Project 1.5C Old Clifton Road, McCormick Village Drive, formerly known as Campus Parkway intersection, documenting certified construction costs, and establishing maximum transportation impact fee credits.
Really?
I move to adopt Resolution 002-23, accepting the Transportation Improvement Program Project 1.5C Old Clifton McCormick Village Drive, formerly known as Campus Parkway intersection, documenting certified construction costs and establishing maximum transportation impact fee credits.
Second.
Councilmember Clausen, I think a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Is that where I heard that?
No. She made the motion, not me.
Okay. Councilmember Lucarelli made the motion. Councilmember Rosa Pepe made the second. Thank you for correcting me. Questions of Mr. Lang? I think this is a great example of private-public partnership. You know, this was an improvement. It was in our plan. We weren't going to get to it for years. The developers wanted to see that. Now they can build these things cheaper, less expensively than we can. No less quality than we would have built it, but for a lesser cost. So it's a win for both of us. So, Councilmember Clausen?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, I think it's clear that what we're approving is the 1.70205.1.20 worth of credits.
Correct.
It's a win-win.
It is.
Other questions? All right. You'd be voting on adoption of a resolution accepting transportation improvements and documenting the certified costs and the maximum transportation impact fees to be granted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unopposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. We're to item G, approval of a letter of intent with the Kitsap Public Facilities District to fund future construction costs for the Community Events Center. And this says Mr. Bond, but I'm probably the one that's been most involved in this with the attorneys. So, break here. So in summary, in 2019, the city was awarded funding from the Public Facilities District as memorialized in contract number C082-19, an interlocal agreement between the city and the Kitsap Public Facilities District to fund a community events center building in Port Orchard. Since that time, significant inflation and construction costs have increased the expected cost to construct the CEC. In addition, sales tax revenues from which the KPFD funding is providing has increased significantly. As such, the city has requested that KPFD funding be increased by $6.6 $6,546,000 above the previously awarded amount to fund construction of the CEC. The mayor and Kitsap Public Facilities District executive directors have negotiated a letter of intent concerning an increase in project funding, as well as outlined how bonds will be obtained to fund the project. The purpose of the letter of intent is to outline the general terms of a future amendment to contract number C082-19, which will be brought forward to the City Council for approval and KPFD board approval at a future date. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute a letter of intent between the city and the Public Facilities District as presented. Councilmember Terneri.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize you to execute a letter of intent between the City of Port Orchard and Kitsap Public Facilities District as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Terneri, a second by Councilmember Lucarelli. And an update on this: last night, the Public Facilities District Board took action and approved this letter of intent. I will say, we have to remember that that board is represented by 3 members from the county and a member from every city. And we are the #1 project, but every one of those board members is eyeing dollars for their community. So it got a little political last night. If sales tax dollars, there's conditions outlined in this. If the economy crashes, we may not be able to get additional money because there may not be additional money, and I hope that isn't the scenario. So I'm hopeful that revenues continue, sales tax dollars continue to rise throughout Kitsap County, and there'll be enough money for our project and all the other projects out there too. But I won't be surprised if I have to attend future Public Facilities District meetings to continue to protect our investment in this. But they are supportive. They continue to talk about this is their #1 project. They want to see it funded. The county is open to doing the bonding, but it's premature for them to commit at this time. We need a pro forma. We need actual, our engineers' estimates that we haven't finished designing the building yet. They need to see the whole package. And then they're likely going to be comfortable with this, but they can't commit until we're much farther along in this, and which is likely about 3 years before we'd be able to amend this ILA. But this is really, just as much as anything, me going to the Public Facilities District, making them aware costs have risen significantly. We're spending their money designing this building, and I didn't want to do that in a vacuum. We need to be transparent in that and make everybody aware. And they understand. They're not excited that it's costing more. And our consultant has given us very aggressive growth numbers. I hope it's wrong and that we don't need all of this money. But we're better to be prepared for the worst case scenario. So that's my story. Councilmember Diener?
I just want to say, good job in chasing this and going in, and it's a pretty big number, so I'm
It's
impressed.
huge. It's huge.
Good work.
Councilmember Rose Pepe?
No, again, I would echo what Scott had to say, Mayor, and commend you for laying the groundwork on a project that is going to be a very long-term and a very integral project, because I think almost every several months you're bringing a little bit of a design change, or what's happening with the bank, the land, and the development downtown. That's all, quite frankly, very tied together in a Gordian knot, so to speak. And so I commend you on keeping them, the district, informed, and keeping us informed.
Sometimes I bring good news and more money.
Yep.
It's not always a change order. So, any other questions or comments? And we're very close, I believe, to an agreement with the library district also. And this was an integral piece to this. They wanted to see that additional funding because then it makes it more palatable to them, because the amount that we and the library district are sharing is much less now than it was before. So,
Are there costs remaining fixed throughout?
We're in negotiations. Okay. And I've got, it's one of my slides. You guys asked for our, projected costs and funding sources for the community center, and Noah and I've got that body of work done, and we've got one done for the pathway too. And so we'll be prepared to talk about those at the retreat. So, any last questions? Some more Clausen?
Just a comment. I want to echo, thank you. Good job.
It's a heavy lift. It really is, but it's gonna be worth it in the end when we start this project downtown. So, all right, you'll be voting on the approval of a letter of intent with the Kitsap Public Facilities District for future construction costs for the Community Event Center. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the letter of intent passes unanimously. We are to item H, approval of amendment number 9 to contract number 06620 with Rice Fergus Miller, Inc. for the design, development, and construction drawings of the Port Orchard Community Event Center LED feasibility. Mr. Bond, this is yours.
Yes, thank you. The city, in partnership with the Kitsap Public Facilities District, is in the design process for a community event center. The city and KPFD executed an agreement to identify this 8-phase project and to memorialize KPFD's committed funding. Following a qualifications-based selection process consistent with Chapter 3980 RCW and the city's procurement policies on July 29, 2020, the city executed a professional services contract with the selected firm Rice Fergus Miller, Inc. for the project. The city and the consultant executed amendments numbers 1 through 8 to the underlying agreement during 2021 and mid-2022. The proposed contract amendment before the City Council would add a task to the CEC design contract concerning modifying the current plans to achieve a Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design LEED Silver certification. Previously, amendment number 8 evaluated the feasibility of meeting LEED certification for the new CEC, and LEED certification is a requirement of state funding that the city will be seeking for the construction of the Community Event Center. The staff report goes on to outline the dollar amounts and task order, or the amendments that were previously executed to this initial contract. The staff recommendation is to approve the contract amendment as presented.
Member Trenary.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute amendment number 9 to contract number C066-20 with Rice Fergus Miller, Inc. for the South Kitsap Community Event Center project in an amount of $229,800.
Second.
Councilmember Trenary, a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Just one change that happened today. Matter of fact, when we went to print, we were going to need to spend our general fund dollars to pay for this, and we received a very large check for impact fees for a development project to the tune of $500,000 for traffic impact fees and $500,000 for park impact fees, which will cover this and leave a bunch more left over. So
Darn.
So anyway, so we won't have to use our general fund because this is eligible likely for park impact fees. So, but it will require a budget amendment later in the year. Other questions? And also, this process is necessary for any state funding, so we intend to pursue a capital appropriation, and the library district has some very specific pots of dollars they can pursue with the state, and without LEED certification, those funds we wouldn't be eligible for those funds. So, and I'm told this is all of the costs. I've been assured that for the LEED certification, including during the construction process. Councilmember Diener?
So I'm looking at the checklist by ARC Ecology, and I was just wondering if it's possible to walk us through the scoring that's used. I'm not quite following it.
I think this is all of the potential opportunities, and can't get all of them. We need,
So
Yeah,
for
I
example,
can-
when you look at LT4, there's a 2 in the yes and a 3 in the no columns, and I'm just curious, what does the 2 and the 3 mean?
I think that's a total number of points that it meets 2 positive criteria and 3 negative. But the 4 boxes that you're checking are the yes, the maybe yes, the maybe no, and the no. And so they've gone through to figure out where we're ticking the boxes and where we have opportunities. And so we are now going to figure out how to get those remaining points through making design modifications.
Okay, what you explained makes sense now. It's how
We
many
need
we're
50 of a total, there's 110 eligible points, and we need to hit 50 to get our silver certification. And so we're evaluating all the different opportunities to get to that certification level.
Thank you.
I was afraid you were going to ask me about that, and I read it and went, oh my goodness. Thank you, Nick.
Makes sense now.
All right, for Councilmember Rosebud.
No, just one other comment. I appreciate that we continue to go after LEED certification. I know it's also allows us to chase various financial opportunities, but more important, I think down the road, it will pay a larger dividend by having the building LEED certified.
Other comments or questions? You'll be voting on the approval of amendment number 9 to contract number 06620 with Rice Fergus Miller, Inc. for the design, development, and construction drawings for the Community Event Center LEED feasibility. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the amendment is passed. So we are to the most difficult decision of the evening. Discussion item related to your required training course to make our insurance company happy. So Debbie is going to walk you through your choices, and you don't get to go home until you pick one.
Thank you. You may, for those of you who've done this for a few years now, you may realize this is a pretty shortened list compared to what you've been able to choose from before. RMSA did some clarification of this requirement, and these are the allowed courses for this year. So it is on the last page of your packet for tonight: anti-harassment in the workplace, discipline and termination, which a large number of you completed in 2019, sexual harassment for managers, sexual harassment in the workplace, and workplace bullying, which happens to be the topic chosen by the management group for this year. And just a reminder, the reason we do this is there's a $1,000 deductible. If an employment lawsuit should come against any one of you and you haven't taken the class, so that's our financial motivation for meeting this requirement.
Councilmember Clausen, do you have an opinion? Which one?
Yeah, I do. I think the managers made a wise choice, and I would certainly support that as well. Yeah.
Yes, I believe last year we overrode John's first pick and went with a different one. So I think what John decides is what we should go with.
We saddled him with an extra hour of training.
Yes, we did. So I think John has the right move. So I support that, John.
I took the course last week, and actually it was it's an hour long, but it was probably one of the better trainings that I've taken. I did learn, if I'm going to bully, I have to bully uniformly everyone, or no one at all.
You just have to be evil-tempered.
Consistent.
Just across the board, or don't do it at all. Yes, no, I'm not being serious at all.
I think our lawyer is cringing right now.
So it sounds like bullying in the workplace is what we're going to do.
Very good. I will get those assignments issued to you, so watch your email box for that.
We have all year.
You do have all year.
Or
Yeah.
until the mayor.
Please don't.
Yeah, until the mayor comes after you, because I'm always the last one.
Your deadline is
Yesterday.
2 hours and 5
September.
minutes.
Can you get it done by September so I don't have to nag you?
Yeah.
It's not bullying if you shame somebody. Who was the last one to do it?
Me.
Him?
Yeah. I think 3 years running now.
Yeah, it's Jay. All right.
That was a close second.
Let's finish this show up here.
Yeah.
So we've got committee reports. Economic Development and Tourism is going to meet on March 20th. I don't believe they met this month. Utilities is meeting on March 28th, and they haven't met since our last council meeting. Finance, I think that is scheduled, it says TBD, but it's going to be our typical date, which is March 21st. So Brandy, if you could add that. Transportation is meeting March 14th. Festivals and Chimes and Lights, you met yesterday, it appears.
Yes, actually, Chimes and Lights, we do have a new theme for this year in our Christmas Around the World, and it is going to be Swiss. So we're going to have a Swiss Christmas, and that'll be fun for merchants and everybody. Actually, we did put off the report for utilities last meeting. I can do
Welcome to give it.
a very quick update. Basically, we had a Foster pilot project update. Always of concern when we hear about that update in particular. It's never exactly what we want. It's been taken off of the legislative priorities for this year. We had hoped we could move forward with it, but we'll continue to push for that approval. There will be a SROF water main replacement. SROF?
Sure.
How do you say it?
Shroff.
SROF. He knows because he lives there, near there. SROF water main replacement this year, and something that John brought up is that that area is accessed by the Kitsap, South Kitsap Western Little League, and so we wanted to make sure that there was some communication prior to the start of that project so people can plan for that. We also talked about wells 6 and 7, chlorination equipment, that it is outdated and that we're going to need some replacement of that equipment. We had a marina pump station update that is going to be moving forward, hopefully this year soon. It's a big project. I think we'll have completion sometime in 2024, but there's a lot of balls in the air on that one. Also, a water metering system discussion. Actually, we're looking into various types of water meter reading systems to reduce the amount of time that employees need to spend, and it sounds like we could easily get our money back very quickly by improving that system. So that's pretty much the long and short of it, and we will have another meeting March 28th via Zoom.
What we're contemplating there in the water reading equipment is Noah's the champion of this because he wants to be able to turn the water on and off from his desk, but really what it's about is the remote technology. It exists out there versus having people drive around and read these meters that we could read these meters. Nobody really needs to go out and read them any longer. It's just a technology investment in which it could save a ton of man hours. All right, land use, looks like you meet March 15th, and lodging tax hasn't met, and you spoke to the sewer advisory committee. The city council retreat, also known as the strategic planning session, is still scheduled for March 10th. And outside agencies, Housing Kitsap met today. We got the results of our audit, and it was a very pleasant experience. That hasn't always been the case with that agency. I've been on the board for 7 years now, and it's got their house in order, and I look forward to them to get back in the game of building housing and performing their mission. So that's all I have for outside agencies. Let's see.
When are you starting the, what's the time we're starting the retreat?
9.
9? Okay, thank you.
For you guys?
That's here.
It's here. Yes. We'd have a lunch brought in. Brandy's going to send out some menus. We had it from Peninsula Beverage last time. They did a good job for us, and if that works.
Janine already did.
Hmm?
Janine did send it out today.
Yeah, did she send it out today? Perfect. And let's see here. Mayor's report. As you know, I missed the last meeting. I know Mark's timing me. Tony was snickering at my staff report. I mean, you guys are abusing me tonight. So I missed the last council meeting because I was at City Action Days, and some highlights from that. I did share a picture. You know, I was facilitated that fireside chat with the governor, and we talked about homelessness, affordable housing. We talked about police pursuits. I asked him about the Mariners and what his prediction for the Mariners were this year, but, to make for something light. But the best part, you know, we do all of these extra things all the time, or many of us do, and, you know, and put a lot of energy into things. And later that day, one of the governor's directors came over to me and was talking to me about that session and a prior meeting that myself and a handful of other mayors had. And those same topics that we talked about with Fireside Chat were the topics that we were talking about in the governor's office. And since I'm the president of Association Washington City, I was leading that conversation. I think I shared that with you previously. But this director let me know that I'd really opened the governor's eyes when I shared that data about our community. And I wasn't sure that I'd really gotten through to the governor by his response. And I was assured, absolutely you did. And then they'd asked for some data, and I contacted the chief, sent them that data, and I said, so did he get the data too that I provided? And they said yes. And we just talked last week at one of our staff meetings. So, you know, while we may not be getting everything we want in the missing middle legislation, the foster we're not getting the results we want in foster, but I truly believe we're impacting the legislation related to pursuits. And we're probably not gonna see everything we want, but I'm confident that we're gonna see some movement in this session related to this, and we played a part in it, so I thought that was really cool. Yeah, gosh, I've had, my next bullet here was about the foster. I've had so many meetings on it. I don't see that bill advancing, unfortunately. So we're moving forward with our application, and if it doesn't go favorably, then it's going to give us ammunition for next legislative session that, you know, we need help. Been working hard to defend against the zoning mandates that the bill is advancing, unfortunately. I also had something I learned too is a lot of communities are starting up their own broadband utility, not cable, but broadband. And so I've asked our IT, and so I've talked to our new IT manager about that, and he says, yeah, that's been a buzz at his conferences too. So I don't know that we want to do it, but I think it's worth investigating because we don't have any competition in this realm in our community. And
You need it. You definitely need it.
Kitsap Public, the PUD can't be a retailer, but cities can. And we have fiber in our city. So and we owe it to, I think, our community to look into this and what it could look like. And maybe it's cost prohibitive, but we won't know if we don't ask the questions. So we're looking into that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can we talk more about this at retreat as well?
Could, but I don't know that I'll have any information. His retreat, he's going to go to his conference.
Okay.
And gather information at his conference.
Okay.
But it's something that I've learned that some other communities are doing, and I want to find out how they're doing it, what the infrastructure needs are. So yeah, I think it's something that I will be reporting on when I've got information, because I think we owe it to the community to investigate this. We talked, the LEED certification, you passed that tonight, so I don't need to talk about it. And I talked already about the impact fees that we collected. I'm required to report policy changes, personnel policy changes, and the HR department has updated the utility manager and accounting assistant 3 positions, and I approved those recently. And as we talked, we're having our retreat at 9 o'clock on March 10th here, and we will have a March work study. I can assure you of that. So we're having a retreat and a work study. So and that ends the mayor's report. Department heads, we're gonna start with Brandy this time.
Wow. All right. I don't have anything to report tonight.
Fun.
I do have something important and fun to share. Wellness Committee was mentioned earlier tonight in talking about the DEI Inclusion Commission. We did receive notice just last week that the City of Port Orchard has won the Well City Award once again for 2023. That's our 12th consecutive year of doing that. I believe that is since the inception of the award by AWC, and that saves us right around $22,000 a year. And Beth Spalding heads that up too, so kudos to Beth once again.
Ms. Archer.
Thank you. The mayor spoke to many of the bills that are still pending. Yesterday was an important cutoff date. So just to flag one other, the vehicular pursuits legislation we've been tracking that would restore the reasonable suspicion standard as the standard to allow for pursuits is still alive. So that's one we're keeping our eye on as well. And as he mentioned, I will be here for the March work study, and we'll have a couple robust conversations there. So look forward to seeing you in March.
Bob.
Yeah, I just wanted to report on some development activity through the first of the year. Through January and February, we issued 29 single-family residential permits and 10 apartment permits containing 210 units. We have an additional 37 single-family residential units ready to issue, and still 32 apartment buildings under plan review at this time that is going to keep our building department very busy for the foreseeable future. And if you're driving around, we have quite a few apartment projects nearing completion. I think the Sinclair Apartments and the Ruby Creek Apartments will probably have occupancy by the end of March, possibly early April. And the Paisno Apartments on Mile Hill are not too far behind. And then we've gone vertical at Overlook and the Plisco Apartments, as well as the Starbucks on Sedgwick. So there's a whole lot of activity happening out there, and things look to be on track for the beginning of the year in terms of activity.
Rocker.
I have nothing for the council tonight. Thank you.
Yes, I have one thing. I just want to update you on the pathway repairs behind Bruce Titus. The repairs started yesterday, so by the end of the week, the pathway should be totally repaired.
PSC will have the light.
I doubt that. At least the pathway and the fencing will be repaired. PSC's lead time on everything is extraordinary, so.
I noticed the other night by the gas station there on that roundabout, somebody's clipped that light and it's leaning and the masthead's gone off of it.
Okay.
I don't know how, the truck had to be really tall to clip the masthead off of it.
Okay, I'll look into it and report to PSC.
Just thought of the lights. All right, anything for the good of the order? No, and actually, we got our second citizen comment period, actually, first. And anyone wishing to address the council, use the raise your hand feature. And sir, you're welcome to step to the microphone if you would like to address the council. All right, nobody online? Now we're to the good of the order. Anything for the good of the order? Have a good evening, and we'll see you back next week.